Tonight's big stories. We're heading into a weekend of back-to-back rallies against charter change. One to be held during the People Power commemoration on EDSA, and the other in Cebu City, organized by pro-Duterte groups.
Democracy Watch once again flags what it says are critical issues with Miru Systems, the South Korean firm that won the contract to service next year's automated elections.
And the Education Department confirms that private schools don't have to adjust their academic calendars in keeping with the new public school timetable.
Welcome to the show. I'm Regina Lloyd.
I'm Gretchen. And I'm Shawn.
Well, it's Friday.
It is.
The traffic certainly told me it was. But also, it's the start of a three-day commemoration of the 1986 People Power Revolution. Spotted at today's rally at the EDSA Shrine were Senator Risa Ontiveros and former Senators Laila De Lima, Bam Aquino, as well as Liberal Party President and Congressman Edson Lagman and human rights lawyer attorney Shell Diokno. Today's activity was not just held to commemorate the EDSA revolution, but also to voice opposition against charter change. And it's been a while since key members of the opposition were last spotted all together in public. Senator Ontiveros said their fight against Chacha is also a fight to keep the memory of EDSA alive.
Yung distortion para, halimbawa, itong pagtanggal sa anibersaryo ng People Power Revolution bilang opisyal na holiday. And yes, itong Chacha dahil ang 1987 Constitution ay bunga ng EDSA People Power Revolution. In fact, naka-embed doon ang maraming leksyon sa ating pakikibaka laban sa martial law dictatorship.
Right, today's gathering started with a mass at the historic Shrine of Mary, Queen of Peace, more commonly known as the EDSA Shrine. The mass was led by renowned composer, Father Manoling Francisco. It is also part of the planned National Day of Prayer and Action against the push for charter change, organized by the Buhay ang EDSA Campaign Network.
When you claim, you celebrate, and you claim the victory of EDSA, necessarily kasama dun yung Constitution at yung pananagutan at yung commitment na depensahan ito, lalo na dun sa mapalinlang at self-serving types of amendment.
3-day celebration for EDSA? Is this the first time? I don't recall it all, like, being a whole weekend
Probably
event.
coincided as well with the protest rallies against charter change. We do come up against opposition every time charter change is in the conversation, right?
But of course, I think this one is special because it was the 1987 charter that was a result of the 1986 revolution.
So symbolically, parang okay, whatever. There's a lot of opposition to that. Main EDSA rally will be held on Sunday, of course, which falls on February 25 this year, which was not declared a holiday controversially.
Sunday yun. Sunday yun. For 2 days, 2 years in a row na siya hindi na-declare as holiday. But this year, it did fall on a Sunday. So people are questioning, maybe it's a Sunday, so what's the point?
Well, one of those who will be present in the rally, human rights lawyer Shell Diokno, says he's not convinced that lawmakers are only after economic amendments to the Constitution. Here is what he said.
Mahirap i-control yan. Once na magbukas ang Constituent Assembly, halimbawa, ay bukas din yung pinto para palitan yung iba't ibang provision ng ating saligang batas. Madaling sabihin ngayon, economic provisions lang, pero nakikita naman natin na maraming mga ganung salita dati na nababago naman pagdating ng panahon.
That's Shell Diokno running for senator next year, right?
For sure, under the Liberal Party ticket. But someone was also there. Now, this person might be more familiar to us, not by name, but by image. Sister Cho Borromeo, isa sa mga madre no, na matapang na humarang at nagdasal sa harap ng mga naglalakihang tangke ng militar along EDSA. Now, 38 years after the People Power Revolution, she's here again fighting Chacha this time around.
At that time, Marcos ang nilalabanan eh. Marcos na naman ngayon. Yung mga advocating for charter change. I really wonder what their ulterior motive is. I don't want to judge, but anybody who really loves the Philippines at heart will not move for charter change.
She's the one. She's the nun in that iconic
Yes.
black and white photo.
I actually never knew her name.
Oo.
Cho Borromeo pala.
Sister Cho
Pero
Borromeo.
parang dalawa yung naalala ko nasa harapan.
Totoo.
It's strong words from her, no? Anyone who loves the Philippines will not be for charter change.
Exactly.
And also what she said, it actually echoes, you know, what everyone else is thinking anyway. It's what is on our minds. At syempre, no, hindi rin talagang na-avoid ang question of the week, which is, what is the opposition planning for the 2025 midterm elections? Brian Basa joins us for some answers. What do you have for us tonight, Brian?
Hi, Shawn. We asked some opposition leaders about their plans for the 2025 midterm polls. One of them is former Senator Laila De Lima. She says she has yet to decide whether to run for senator next year.
I have no plans yet. I'm really having difficulty deciding. So, saka na lang ho natin pag-isipan yan. Dapat po nandyan yung mga tunay na mga lumalaban, yung mga may prinsipyo, yung mga hindi ho dapat yung medyo kwela-kwela ka la dyan, na hindi ka seryoso sa ginagawa mo.
De Lima, who's also Liberal Party spokesperson, revealed yesterday that at least 3 personalities are already in their list of senatorial aspirants for 2025. Human rights lawyer Chel Diokno and former senators Bam Aquino and Kiko Pangilinan. We spoke with attorney Diokno earlier, though he didn't directly confirm this information.
Chill lang po tayo. Salamat kay Sen. Laila sa kanyang vote of confidence. Basta ako ay determined na ituloy ang laban para sa ating kalayaan at demokrasya para maituwid din natin yung hustisya dito sa atin.
Now, Senator Ontiveros says the slate is tentative for now. They're still planning the opposition party's next steps for the 2025 polls.
Ang pangarap ko nung una ay full slate ng 12 para sa oposisyon. Tinitingnan pa po namin kung kaya po namin buuin yun.
That's it for now. Back to you.
Right, thanks so much for that, Brian Basa.
Alala ko tuloy yung dun sabi ni former Senator Laila De Lima, yung mga pa-chill-chill sa trabaho dapat yung mga para mawala. Yung nagva-viral ngayon yung pagluta ni
yes.
Gluta ni
Mariel
Mariel
Padilla.
Padilla sa loob ng office ni
Uy.
Senator Robin Padilla.
It's completely off topic, but we have a reaction from Senator Nancy Binay about that. And it's a pretty lengthy. I'm not going to read the whole
It's also a
statement.
good reaction.
But she said, nakaka-bother daw kasi yung procedure was done inside the Senate premises. As public figures, sana aware din tayo sa responsibilidad natin sa publiko. We might be promoting something na ipinagbabawal at illegal. And it goes on and on. So
Kasi
she's
noong
calling her out.
January 2024, DOH Secretary Ted Herbosa says na hindi nga to legal, yung,
Correct.
yung gluta drip,
Yes.
and can cause serious illness to the kidneys.
Linawin lang
even
natin,
then.
it's not that it's illegal, but it's not FDA approved.
Ayun.
So parang hindi
Well,
nila
technically,
nire-recommend.
Parang
Illegal,
gano'n
yeah.
na nga kasi hindi siya approved. Gano'n na nga. Delikado siya sa health
Oo.
kasi may namatay na
Technically.
36-year-old.
Oh, okay.
That could have been
But yun
preventable.
nga, it has proliferated in recent years.
So, I
a
mean,
lot of
Sa derma,
clinics
diba?
are doing
Madami.
it, yes.
I mean, I hope this opens up the discussion, no? Kasi ang daming gluta clinics, gluta
There
drip
are
clinics.
lots, yeah.
Na yun lang yung ginagawa nila dun sa buong clinic. It's just this concoction, that
I don't even know
concoction.
if glutathione is the long name for it. Has been proven effective in terms of skin whitening, which I assume what
Parang
these people
sinasabi
are
nila, it's supposed to be
getting
used in
it for.
hospitals to treat
your liver.
chemotherapy, parang the effects of chemotherapy.
So once again, this is a drug that was meant for something,
Yes.
but people appropriated it and used it
Yeah.
for
Kasi
something
the side
else.
effect
Got
daw
it.
was pumuputi nga yung mga
Oo.
patients that they treat. But again, no, sometimes it's not a licensed professional. Like Senator Nancy Binay
Yeah.
pointed out, hindi man lang yung clinic yung nag-administer and not a medical professional.
And the reason we're reading her statement out loud is, of course, she's the chair of the Senate Ethics Committee. That's why her statement on it matters.
Oops. That was a big oops. Well, speaking of rallies, it isn't just here in Manila. There are also reports of some pro-Duterte groups in Cebu planning to hold a prayer rally against charter change on Sunday, the same day as the EDSA anniversary. In fact, among those who have confirmed to join is Cebu City Mayor Michael Rama. He spoke with 1PH sa Totoo Lang earlier tonight, and there he clarified that he only wants this to be a prayer rally against Cha-Cha and not an anti-Marcos rally. Let's listen into this.
Handang-handa naman po na yung kapayapaan doon ay magaganap.
Hindi naman bakit magugulo eh. Prayer nga.
Oo
Pag
nga.
nag-prayer ka, dapat hinihingi mo yung divine intervention.
Tama rin.
Mayor, baka dadalo doon si Pangulong Rodrigo Duterte.
May intel ka ba?
Oh, di ba, pag si Pangulo, hindi Pangulo, former President Rodrigo Duterte. Oo, ma-adlib yun. Baka hindi mapigilan. Sabi po ninyo, pag anti-BBM, walk out na kayo.
Ay, definitely, sinasabi ko talaga yan kasi yun namang issue ngayon, dapat yung congressional initiative na nagiging secret initiative, but it started more on congressional, tapos nagiging people's initiative.
To talk us through that Cebu rally, on the line is Ruben Vertusio. He's the co-convener of the Cebu Coalition for TAPS, which stands for Transparency, Accountability, Peace, and Security. Magandang gabi po.
Hello.
Hello, Ruben. Good evening.
Hi, Ruben.
Hi, ma'am. Good evening, ma'am.
Ruben, ito nga pong rally na mangyayari sa Sunday. Sino pong aasahan natin darating dito? Have the Dutertes confirmed that they will be in this rally at sino po yung mga inimbitahan natin?
As confirmed and posted already in the mainstream media and also in other social media platforms, of course, former President Digong Duterte will be there. Also, Mayor Baste and Congressman Punyong Duterte. And also joining them are attorneys Harry Roque, Vic Rodriguez, and Gretchen.
What about Senator Amy Marcos and Vice President Sara Duterte? Nakapag-confirm na po ba sila?
I'm not at the liberty to say that, but we're expecting them. But I am not the official spokesperson for this. I was just called because our spokesperson is, I don't know where she is right now. She's attorney, and in her behalf, I'm just speaking in her behalf.
Okay, ito po ba ay extension ng ginawang prayer rally sa Davao noong January? Is this part 2? Yun po ba ang ating pakay ngayon against Cha-Cha?
Yes, ma'am. Basically, this is the second part because I've also been to Davao last January 28, and we're just replicating what happened there. Here in our hometown, Cebu. Because we just want, of course, the government to listen to us that we're really concerned about the developments and the detrimental effects it brings to all of us.
Ruben, we understand this is an anti-Cha-Cha rally, but can you clarify for us exactly what your group are protesting?
Actually, we are not protesting, but we as what we call this already posted and already expressed in many other platforms. We are just expressing and hoping for some positive changes. We are not against the government. In fact, we want the government of PBM to succeed. And we are just concerned with what's happening right now. And our primary purpose is for the government to listen to us, ordinary citizens. We are all coming into this as volunteers. We don't have any political or whatsoever political inclinations or organizations or affiliations. We are just coming to this as ordinary citizens. I myself, I'm a businessman. There are lawyers. There are other professionals in this. We're coming to this as concerned citizens of our country.
Okay, I understand that you do want the government to succeed. It's not a protest per se, but anong issues are you trying to raise to the forefront?
Again, that's why we have this TAP. It's an acronym for transparency, accountability, peace, and security. Because right now,
Go ahead.
because right now those are the things that we really need at this point in time. Transparency and accountability in what the People's Initiative, or the PI, is what we're trying to drive at is you don't have to be so blatant in a process. But just we're not really against charter change, but it should be done in accordance with the law and in accordance with the process.
Okay, so am I understanding it right, Ruben? You are not per se against charter change, but you are against the People's Initiative or the PI? And having said that...
Yes, ma'am, exactly. Yes, ma'am.
How do Cebuanos feel about the People's Initiative? Can you give us the pulse of the Cebuano people? How do you guys perceive the PI and what do you not like about it?
Believe it or not, even the ordinary man on the street knows already about these things. Street vendors, jeepney barkers, just common drivers, or even ambulance vendors, and even students, of course. They know about this development right now, and that's why we are having this prior rally, because we want to express our sentiment that we're against these people's this PI, we call it as a private initiative.
Alright, Ruben, ano po sa tingin ninyo, dahil nakikita po natin ngayon pa sa paggalaw sa politika, meron pa bang unity team? Kung ito po ay pro-Duterte group, tapos pinoprotesta nga po natin yung ilang mga hakbang under the Marcos government. What is the sentiment over there?
We are not really, all of us, not all of us are Duterte supporters. Some are coming from other political inclinations. We're just coming together to express our sentiment regarding this PI.
Pagkatapos po nitong Cebu rally, meron pa po ba kayong nakaplano mga susunod? At what would your group want to happen for the PI to stop, for charter change discussions to be more thorough? Ano po yung hinahangad po ninyo? Goals for the prayer rally that is going to happen?
As you've said, ma'am, we really want this PI initiative or this process to stop. We're calling the concerned government officials, specifically House of Congress, to stop this PI, and also specifically also Covenant not to accept already those depleted signatures already, and basically we're calling to scratch or to, or what we call this, stop this PI altogether.
Ruben, actually the COMELEC has already stopped. I'm sure you caught the news about that. They've stopped taking the signatures. They put a pause on PI initiatives. The fact that this rally is happening after the COMELEC has put a pause on the PI initiative, you can't help but wonder, no? Is this a pro-Duterte rally? What would you have to say about that?
Actually, ma'am, that was already discussed during in several of our meetings, and our legal team told us that yes, it's been announced that the COMELEC already stopped the acceptance or the make it appear that it's already not accepted. But in reality, they say, our legal team, they say that it's still not being dispatched.
Okay. So you believe that it's the wheels are still rolling? Well, okay. Thank you for being frank.
Meron po ba kayo nababalitaan na patuloy na signature campaign on ground?
That's why, ma'am, in some of our, there were reports in some of the rural areas in Cebu. And we're checking and verifying those reports.
Okay. All right. Maraming salamat po. Thank you for joining us at mag-ingat po kayo sa Sunday. That was Ruben Vertusio, co-convener of the Cebu Coalition for Transparency, Accountability, Peace, and Security.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. Right after that, questions are now being raised about Miru Systems, which was just awarded the contract for next year's elections. We'll be speaking to Democracy Watch convener Lloyd Zaragoza when we return. Keep it here.
Welcome back. You're still watching The Big Story here on One News.
Just a day after being awarded the contract for the 2025 elections, Korean firm Miru Systems is now being questioned about supposed irregularities in other countries. The group Democracy Watch noted that there were reports of malfunctioning Miru voting machines during the elections in Iraq and Congo last year. The election watchdog says this resulted in delayed voting, widespread chaos, and massive erosion of public trust. Democracy Watch went on to say that Miru has yet to provide evidence of a successful election run in the two countries. And the group added, "We cannot risk having a faulty and unreliable automated election system that can lead to political instability in our country." For its part, Miru insists that the allegations of election failure in Iraq and Congo are all false. Let's try to hash this issue out with Democracy Watch Philippines convener Lloyd Zaragoza, who joins us live via Zoom tonight. Good evening, Lloyd. Thanks for being with us at such short notice.
Hi, good evening.
I say short notice because you only issued the statement at 5 this afternoon, and then we very quickly tried to book you guys. Again, thanks for being with us. Democracy Watch has issued a statement raising a lot of questions about Miru, but I note that this is not the first statement that you issued. Earlier this year, you already wrote COMELEC, right, raising a number of concerns against Miru system. In fact, you raised 6 critical issues against Miru. My question to you, first of all, is what happened afterwards? Did you get a response? And what were some of the critical points that you raised in that letter to COMELEC?
Well, that's right. Democracy Watch early on, in fact, late last year, we already flagged the reported performance of Miru in some countries wherein their system was used in their elections, particularly in Congo and in Iraq. And last month, as an election observer to the Special Bids and Awards Committee, Democracy Watch wrote to COMELEC and formally informed them of all of these reports, and similarly on some critical issues that we feel would be very important for Miru to address, one of which is whether or not the use of prototype machines should be or is allowed, given that we have the automated election law where it specifically states that that prototypes are not allowed and that the system should have been used in elections abroad. So COMELEC, in fairness to COMELEC, they informed us that they will refer the matter to the technical working group, and of course, as we all know, yesterday the COMELEC has already awarded the contract to Miru Systems, wherein the technical working group gave its favorable recommendation to merit such an award.
So you never heard from them after that? They never gave you a response to the 6 critical issues that you raised at the start of the year?
Well, they told us that they would study the matter, and in fact, I think Miru, for instance, would also came out with their own statements, wherein they just brush aside our earlier call that they need to explain, or they need to clarify the reports in Congo as well as in Iraq.
Let's go over to that case with Iraq's elections. They did just conclude an election last year, but I think they first used Miru in their 2018 elections. When you're right, I was able to dig up a Reuters report where the election commission over there supposedly ignored warnings over the faulty vote counting machines, etc., and then it ended up in a manual recount. But they did use Miru again in 2023. So parang walang nagyari doon, di ba? And then add to that, COMELEC Commissioner Garcia saying na, the election commissioners in Congo, in Iraq, they've all given a certification na okay naman daw si Miru. What would you have to say to counter that?
Well, that's part of our call that maybe it's best that these statements, self-serving statements, should be out in the open for us also to know and to read what is the content of that certification, because based on third-party election observers, particularly in Congo, such as the church in Congo, they came up with a report wherein they were saying 45% of their electronic voting machines malfunctioned, breakdowns and technical errors were rampant. That's why they need also to extend their voting for a day or for a few days. So, and even an international observer mission, which is the Carter Center, it also reported that they also their election observers also noted some machine inoperability, which also led to technical problems. So again, it would be good if these statements are being presented those certifications are being shown so that we would also be informed as to why, despite the statements of these election commissions in their countries, we have other third-party election observers, independent election observers, saying otherwise.
Okay, Mr. Zaragoza, I'd just like to clarify one thing that you said earlier. So yung ginamit at tinest nila dito yung prototype. What do you mean by that? And hindi siya part of system. And also, I believe that Comelec George Garcia mentioned that they're separating two components of the system, yung voting and audit, saka yung transmission. Have both been awarded to Miru, or is that totally separate? Ano na yung developments doon? No? Kasi that was, sineparate talaga yung dalawang components na yon to protect the integrity of our voting process.
Yeah, I think what was awarded was on the list of the vote counting machines at this point. If I'm not mistaken, the transmission is still ongoing. The process for the procurement is still ongoing by the Comelec, and there's no award yet.
Okay. Lloyd, balikan ko lang din, no, yung nabanggit mo nga may mga third-party election watchdogs. Would you know if any other group shares in your doubts and your, your kumbaga, general unease with Miru? Because NAMFREL was quoted in the Daily Tribune. Basically, they're quoting lang what, not naman quoting, but along the same lines as what Comelec Commissioner Garcia said, no, na parang okay naman daw based sa observation nila. And as we know, of course, NAMFREL is one of the bodies that we trust every time na may election tayo.
Well, I'm not too sure with other election groups, but of course, we heard in some instances that there have been election watchdogs also who put forward their own statements that there is a problem, that they saw some problems with Miru, and in fact, this was shared in one congressional hearing at the House of Representatives. So there are other groups saying that they too found out some reports that are not satisfactory as being claimed.
Okay, taking all of this into light and looking at the due diligence of Comelec, what options do we have here? Because I believe there's only one. There's a single bidder here. Bumili ng bidding documents, yung Dominion Voting, Indra PH, Group Holding, pati Smartmatic. Pero wala sa kanila ang tumuloy into the actual bid. Have you looked into other options that may be more viable for us at this point? The elections are happening next year already. We're quite short on time. I mean, kung hindi ito, ano pa yung pwede nating options?
Well, yun nga, no? Yun yung nakakabahala rin for this one, because as much as we would have wanted more choices for this particular initiative, unfortunately, we were only left with one choice, which was Miru, given the fact that the other election provider, Smartmatic in this case, was disqualified. And they did try to submit their own bid, but of course, because of the Comelec decision, they were not allowed to do so. But on our end, as Democracy Watch and as an election observer and as your watchdog, we would continue to make sure that our elections would be clean, credible, and we would see to it that the integrity and the integrity of the elections would be maintained. Because as we said earlier, we cannot risk having a faulty and unreliable automated election system that could lead to political instability in our country.
Of course not. But oo nga, baka naman this is a case of whichever service provider we choose, they're always going to come under fire, right? Elections being a very huge flashpoint in this country, in this liberal democracy, fledgling democracy, right? But we will leave it there. Do get back in touch with us if there are any developments as you try to see this process through. That was Democracy Watch convener Lloyd Zaragoza. Thanks for your time.
We're going to pause for a quick breather. Right after that, the proposed divorce bill makes its way through Congress, but lawmakers remain divided. We'll be taking a look at both sides of that argument when the big story returns. Stay with us.
Welcome back. You're still watching the big story here in One News. As we reported this week, the Education Department has decided that public schools will return to the old school calendar, which runs from June to March. Now, the question is, will private schools be required to follow suit? Let's get more clarification on that from JC Cosico. JC, what do you know?
Shawn, that's as far as the Education Department is concerned. Private schools are not required to adjust their school calendar. This follows DepEd's decision to gradually revert to the previous school calendar, which has a school break from April to May. DepEd ASEC Francis Bringas noted that some private schools already started classes in June and July last year. But for those that aligned with public schools and shifted the school opening to August, these will not be obligated to make adjustments.
Hindi naman sila mandatory na mag-adjust ng kanilang school calendar. So they still have the option to maintain their approved calendars or adjust accordingly.
The current school year will end on May 31 to pave the way for the opening of classes for the upcoming school year 2024 to 2025 on July 29.
Ating school year and school year rights natin ay magaganap ng the last 3 days natin, that's May 29, 30, and 31.
Shawn, to make things clear, the students' vacation period for this year will be from June 1 to July 28, while DepEd activities will resume from July 1 to 27. For the school year 2026 to 2027, it is anticipated that the pre-pandemic June to March school calendar will be reinstated. This adjustment, according to ASEC Bringas, stems from extensive consultations with education stakeholders, including teachers, parents, students, and teachers' organizations. Back to you.
In other news, lawmakers have begun deliberations on House Bill 9349, or the Absolute Divorce Bill, which remains a divisive issue. How did discussions go on that? Let's ask News 5's Elaine Fulgencio. Elaine, how did that go down?
Gretch, if you ask by Representative Edsel Lagman, the principal author of the Absolute Divorce Bill, the measure has a good chance of passing the lower house.
Well, I'm very confident at ako'y nagpapasalamat sa Speaker of the House at sa Majority Floor Leader na sa wakas pinag-uusapan na natin sa plenaryo ang divorce bill. Matagal nang hinihintay ng karami-raming mga kababaihan na sila ang biktima ng pag-aabuso, pag-aabandona.
However, critics like Cagayan de Oro City 2nd District Representative Rufus Rodriguez fear it could only lead to more broken families. They also argue that options like legal separation, annulment, and dissolution of marriage are enough for couples who can no longer stay together.
100% against absolute divorce in this country. Mr. Chairman, Mr. Speaker, if you go to the countries that have allowed divorce, it has opened the floodgates for broken families. In America, Mr. Chairman, United States, Mr. Speaker, more than 52% of the children are growing up with only one parent. What a debacle. When a child is only nurtured by one parent instead of two, you see juvenile delinquency. You see, Mr. Speaker, drug addiction.
Divorce proponents, on the other hand, say the measure is quite different from the process of annulment. Under the family code, grounds for annulment are only limited to lack of parental consent, insanity, fraud, duress, impotence, and having serious and incurable sexually transmissible disease. While in the Absolute Divorce Bill, grounds include physical violence and abusive behavior, drug addiction, homosexuality, and marital infidelity. Aside from that, the proposed divorce law also seeks to fast-track the process of separation.
Binigyan ang husgado ng 1 taon lamang upang tapusin ang pagdesisyon ng divorce petition. 1 year after the lapse of the cooling off period of 60 days. At ito naman ay yung mga walang kaya sa buhay ay pwedeng mag-apply as court-assisted petitioner. Wala silang babayaran na cost at bibigyan pa sila ng mga professional assistance ng husgado. Iba ito sa proseso na masyadong matagal, masyadong expensive, kapares ng annulment of marriage.
Gretch, the issue of divorce here in the country remains to be a very sensitive one and would definitely entail comprehensive discussions. What's for sure now is that the bill will not have the blessing of the Catholic Church. The Catholic Bishops' Conference of the Philippines remains firm in its position against divorce, which is being viewed as a violation to the sanctity of marriage. Gretch?
All right, thanks for that, Elaine Fulgencio.
Still very contentious issue in divorce.
Yes. Well, maybe. Who knows, right?
We're still
This
the
time
only,
around.
the only country that has not passed a
One of only two, the other being the
With
Vatican.
the Vatican. So that means we
Oo
are
nga
the
pala,
only
one of only
country.
two.
The
Because you
Vatican
can't
yung
expect
isa.
the Vatican
Of course
to
not.
That means we're the last.
The
Last
last
frontier.
democratic
Yeah.
country.
Okay,
Yes,
okay,
but you're right. Technically the last. But I understand the argument that this might. I mean, you know, divorce rates in America are kind of getting out of hand. I understand that argument, as Representative Rodriguez pointed out. But also, I think there's a bigger question to be debated here, which is our children growing up in one household, in one parent households, better off than those who grow up with two parents together, still under the same roof, but are in
they're
a
always
toxic
fighting.
relationship? Exactly. Right. I think they need to debate that because yes, I understand you want to preserve the familial structure. But is it better for a child to grow up in a household with just one parent or one where they're always fighting? That's also
well,
not
on the
good
other
for
hand,
their
there's
development.
Stigma on broken families, those who raised by single parents. Culturally, we have to also look into that, the implications of that. But definitely.
But definitely, it's 2024. I think
Yeah.
it begs a review, a
That's
very
true,
thorough
that's true,
review
that's true.
without grandstanding
Exactly.
and without waiving, you know, the religious flag because you're right.
It needs to
Children
be
are what
divorced.
matters here.
Yeah, it needs to be divorced, I think, from the church question, right? The religious question. It needs to be just a
That
civil
mountain is
liberties.
looking
Very
higher.
sensitive
Topic.
topic to tread.
Okay, well, let's move on over to this thing, which is not so sensitive, I would think. The government is now studying a proposal to suspend PhilHealth contributions for minimum wage earners. In a statement, Presidential Communications Secretary Lloyd said that the review is still ongoing. Garafil added that President Marcos wants to ensure that any increase in premium will substantially be much more in value in terms of benefits and coverage to PhilHealth members. Republic Act 1123, or the Universal Healthcare Law, mandates the increase in PhilHealth contribution rate in 0.5% increments every year starting 2021 until it reaches 5% from 2024 to 2025. What that means is that contributions of between 500 pesos to 5,000 pesos per month. Earlier this week, Regina 2nd District Representative Stella Kimbo filed a resolution seeking to suspend the PhilHealth contributions of minimum wage earners to give them an estimated additional 400 pesos in their daily salaries. This was filed while deliberations are also ongoing in the House regarding the counterpart bill in the Senate, which proposes a 100 peso general wage increase. PhilHealth says it welcomes any possible legislator on this matter.
At hindi po tayo mababahala sapagkat ang natirang pondo na binigay ng Kongreso sa PhilHealth noong 2022 ay sapat na para bayaran ang minimum wage worker contributions para sa buong 2024. At hindi pa natin pinag-uusapan ang sobrang pondo ng PhilHealth noong 2023.
We really welcome this move. No? Any move that will help the poor people, the indigents, siyempre full support kami. So, we will comply. Definitely, we will comply with whatever legislation will be pursued by the government. No? So kung itutuloy nila ito, walang problema. We will comply and we will support it.
Right, anyone planning to head up north to go to the Panagbanga Festival in Baguio City this weekend? Well, you're missing out if not, because preparations are in high swing for what's shaping up to be the biggest festival since it started 28 years ago. And as always, the highlight of the event will be the traditional floral float parade and competition. The adorned floats are all made from vibrant flowers from Benguet, meant to support the local flower farmers. But this year, we'll see the most number of floats ever entered in competition.
Itong 28th offering natin, ang pinakamalaki na bilang ng mga participants natin sa float parade. Dati kasi nag-average tayo about 15 to 20 floats, no? Malaki na yung 22 na participation natin. This year, meron tayong 33 floats na ipaparada sa linggo. Napansin natin because of the pandemic, no? Maraming mga kumpanya ang medyo cash trap, no? So, yung big float, medyo nahirapan sila, no, to come up with a big float. So, naisip namin this year, why don't we come up with another version which is yung small float. Maganda to para makita ng mga kababayan natin that even with a small or limited budget, pwede ka na sumali sa float competition ng Baguio Flower Festival.
There's also Session Road in bloom when Baguio's Main Street will be closed off to cars from February 26 to March 3. The Baguio City Tourism Office has also advised visitors to just walk around to avoid the hassle of finding parking. Around 800 police officers will be deployed from the Baguio PNP regional offices and police trainees from 2 major universities to ensure the public's safety and maintain peace and order. And of course, what's a festival without fireworks? There will also be a grand fireworks display on March 3 to conclude the month-long festival.
Now, for those who are worried about drinking water due to the E. coli scare, the Panagbanga Flower Festival organizers assured that the food booths and kiosks will use mineral, if not distilled water. Even the ice will have certificates confirming the cleanliness of the water. They said they will also conduct random checks on water quality from time to time. So yun nga yung latest issue that arose with Baguio.
But otherwise, it
The
looks
forest
really fun.
fires.
Yes,
also
that's
the
right, in
forest
Benguet.
fire.
In the Cordillera.
Actually, kanina, I sat in with Denise Tan sa afternoon delight. Tapos we were trying to talk to Mayor Magalong, but he was busy, so we talked to the BFP instead. They're saying hindi naman daw ganun ka-affected.
Because it's up in the mountains, the forest fires.
Yeah, and it's in 9 different isolated locations. So, it's so sad that you're celebrating a flower festival and yet forests are burning.
And hopefully, sana wala ng haze at this
Sana walang
point.
haze.
And
But
they
she
have the
did-
issue on the water.
Yung Yung advice naman ng BFP is magdala na lang ng N95 masks, if not double up the regular surgical masks in case if you're worried
in
about
case
the
in case of the smoke and the haze
Yes.
from the forest
Speaking
fires.
of
That's
things
good
to
advice.
get prepared for, we know where the traffic is heading. They're all headed up north. Diba? So pag magbabakasyon kayo, medyo pwedeng pa south. The
Yun
other
nga
way.
Pero ang ganda talaga ng panagbanga.
Yeah,
It's so
it's
fun.
looking great.
Yeah, but
And
the
plus,
last time
it's
I
the
went,
biggest ever float competition this year.
And Session Road will be closed off to motorists, which will be great.
We have to get ready for the standstill by the Lion's Head.
Yeah.
Diba?
Sa Cannon Road pa lang. Oh no.
Yes.
Ito na, okay, before we wrap up this Friday, our big picture tonight is the historic moon landing of Houston-based Intuitive Machines' Odysseus aircraft. This marks the United States' return to the lunar surface after over 50 years, or since the last Apollo landing in 1972. The mission is part of NASA's efforts to scout the moon through robotic expeditions backed by private contractors before sending actual crew members or astronauts under its new Artemis program. Naniniwala ba kayo na totoo yung moon landing noong 1972?
Oh my God.
Flat earther.
Oh my God! I never knew you were a flat earther.
No, but you know, sometimes
Yes, people landed on the moon. Yes. It's been done by
Nako,
several countries now. Yes.
ito na lang. Oh, so sabi nila, no? Because everyone's racing to land robots on the moon
Yes.
now. It's a race daw with China.
Yes.
Kailangan unahan ng US yung China. Makapag
By the-
bumalik doon sa moon. O,
I
hindi
think
na ako
China
flat.
has done. I think China has done it, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, but they're racing for, I think, the real
And also
astronauts.
India
Si
is
Elon Musk, ano ba
India.
yung goal ni Elon? Di ba sa space din?
Sa totoo lang, di ko na rin alam ano yung goal ni Elon Musk. Sa dami niyang goal.
India is also part of this space race.
It is. And Japan is part of the space race. So tingnan natin, kasi since we're not there, we can just observe from planet Earth. That's it for the big story on this Friday night.
Well, I hope we remain on ground after the weekend. We are One News, all sides, all the time.
You mean we're not going to Baguio? You can still rush over. Thanks for tuning in. Have a good night and a great weekend.